Okay, friends, we'll go ahead and begin with reciting the Namo Tassa and the three refuges for those who like to join. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. So welcome, friends, to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion. And I hope you're able to re-listen to the talk on the simile of the raft, or alternately called the predicament and escape. Now, I'm going to be giving a review on it in case I know there's some of you who are not able to listen to those recordings, before the program. So this is the simile of the raft, and it's a sutta, part of a sutta, of a larger sutta, and but I've sort of elaborated it a little bit, and it, describes the process of, a person using the Dhamma wisely as a raft to cross the ocean of samsara. So that's what we're doing in our Dhamma practice, and meditation is the key component for being able to implement and develop the other steps of the Eightfold Path. Now, I mentioned in the newsletter that this was also starts out as a walk on the wild side. So let's say the average person, wanting to, be happy and enjoy life, on a weekend, on a nice Saturday or Sunday, they drive out to the countryside, hoping to have a nice, peaceful stroll through the countryside and the forests. And so as he's walking along, but all of a sudden there becomes an earthquake, and the ground starts quaking and shaking, and cracks develop in the earth, and his hair stands on end, and he becomes terrified, and he starts running and jumping over the cracks and trying to outrun these fissures and cracks and tremors of the earthquake. And then finally they die down, and he manages not to, fall into any cracks or crevices or otherwise get hurt. But he's highly relieved when that earthquake stops. And so he resumes his walk, and he's walking along. Then all of a sudden there becomes a tsunami, from the earthquake. And these big waves start rolling in, or some other flood. And he runs and runs to escape being inundated by the floodwaters. And somehow he manages to escape harm from those raging floodwaters. And so he's kind of, whew, boy, I've just barely made it through that. And then he continues his walk. And then there's a big forest fire begins. And he's entered the forest, and there's a big forest fire, and the fire is starting raging, and so he runs and runs to outrun the fire. And finally he outruns the fire, and then he comes to continues his walk, but then a tornado comes up. And the tornado is uprooting trees, and so he hunkers down and tries to avoid being blown away by the tornado. And so finally that settles down. So then he continues his walk. And then a little bit later, 5 robbers or bandits jump out from behind the rocks and trees and, chasing him and wanting to catch him or beat him or rob him or kill him. And so he runs and runs, and gradually he sees a village. So he says, I'll run in the village and get help from these robbers. So he runs into the village and goes knocking on the doors, pleading for help, but no one's there. The village is an empty village. And then finally at the end of the village, he sees a ghost, and he gets terrified of seeing the ghost, and he runs out the other side of the village. And so as he's running, he keeps looking behind him. Is there some other danger? Something else is going to happen. And then he runs down and he sees a bank of the river. And so he goes down to the bank of the river, and he sees that everything on the other side of the river is very peaceful. It's quite a wide river. But he sees on the other side everything, there's swaying palm trees, and everything looks very peaceful, and he keeps on looking over his shoulder for more dangers. But then he says, if I can only get across the river. But then he can't swim. Then he realizes he can't swim. What's he going to do? So he looks around, and then he sees 8 logs sunk in the mud on this bank of the river. So an idea pops into his mind. If I can pull these logs out of the river and lash them together and make a raft, then I can launch this raft into the river and escape the dangers from this side, and hopefully make it over to the other bank. And so he does that, and he starts pulling the logs out, and they're sunk in the mud, and they make a sucking sound like and he's pulling with all of his might, and he finally pulls them out, but then he has to tie them together. So he looks on some of the trees and sees vines. So he cuts some of the vines and ties the logs together, and then is able to drag that raft down to the edge of the river and get on it and start paddling to the other side. And as he starts leaving this bank and paddling out, a lot of fish, or it might have been in South America, piranhas or sharks. They come after the raft and try to bite the person's hand. He says, oh. and he paddles faster to get away from the sharks. Then he gets out towards the middle and he encounters a whirlpool. And the whirlpool threatens the, whirlpool. So the raft is getting sucked down toward that whirlpool. And so with great effort, he has to avoid getting caught in the whirlpool. And then he bypasses the whirlpool. And then there's a sandbar in the middle of the river, a big sandbar. And it threatens to get the raft stuck on the sandbar. So he has to continue to be very alert and to avoid getting the raft stuck on the sandbar. And then finally he gets over towards the other side. And just about 10 feet before he would reach the other side, there are some submerged tree trunks and branches just under the surface of the water that would prevent the raft from fully reaching the shoreline. So he has to kind of look around and find a place as the current kind of, is pushing the raft down. He finally sees a little space between the sunken branches and tree trunks and is able to touch the shore. And then he climbs off the shore and everything is very peaceful there. And there's palm trees blowing in the breeze, and there's coconuts in the trees, and there's some papaya trees, and there's birds singing, and everything looks very, very peaceful. So then he takes a little walk, and he finds some fruit on the trees, and he eats some fruit, enjoys the fruit. And then he climbs up on a little hill and has a 360-degree panorama. And he builds himself a little hut there on top and basically lives happily ever after. And actually, before he started his walk, he thought, should I carry this raft on my head? And he said, no, that will be very heavy, and I'll leave this raft here for somebody else to use if they want to go back to the other side. And so he left the raft there, and as I already mentioned, he went on top of the hill for a 360-degree view and lived happily ever after. Now, this is a simile of the average person when they start to practice Dhamma, or even before they practice Dhamma. They encounter these same dangers. So I'm going to just briefly recount the meanings of some of those things that the person encountered on his walk. So the earthquake, the flood, the fire, and the tornado represent the four elements. And the four elements are all the material elements or vibrations of the material world, the sense objects, but it's basically the earth, fire, water, and air. Every material object is made up of cells and molecules and atoms, and they have different properties. Some become solid, some become fluid, some become heat, and others become wind or movement, cause movement, even within our body. So the Buddha gave the teaching on these four elements, that they're always changing, and they cause us a lot of pain and suffering. If you get too much less water element and more earth element, then maybe you'll become constipated, or you'll get other problems in the body. And if you get too much water and not enough protein and this and that, or anyway, if any of these elements becomes overly too much or overly too less, then various sicknesses and problems will develop. And that's because of their nature of impermanence. And so those four elements, they're in this body, but they're also in the external world. And so that's what causes these natural disasters like earthquakes and floods and fires and tornadoes, is when, these elements, even the elements in nature, you get out of balance. So the same way with our body. And so it causes a lot of pain and fear and worry. People are worrying about, getting sick, getting old, and dying, or other things happening to them of the material nature. And then the five aggregates, the five bandits, are the five aggregates, or symbolize the five aggregates of the material form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. And I'm not going to go through them in detail because I've already talked at length in other talks. But our feelings are always changing. Our perceptions are subject to change. Our likes and our dislikes are subject to change. Our volitional formations, the way we act and do things, are subject to change. And even our consciousness is subject to change, and all of our states of mind. So all these five aggregates, they're also impermanent, and they cause us a lot of pain and suffering. I mean, just the painful Vedana, the painful feelings that we experience, and then our mental states and the emotional reactions that are constantly changing due to things of the world. And people go, even go insane, they'll go into deep depression, they'll get into all kinds of deep mental illnesses and diseases, and, the physical diseases, of course, too, and not getting what you want, getting what you don't want, because we can't control anything. So these things bring a lot of people pain and suffering. I don't think you have to look too far to understand that. And then he runs into a village looking for help. So in order to escape the pains of our living and our sadness and all the emotional ups and downs that people go through, say trauma of, losing your loved ones. Look at, these, all these people who've been killed and shot in the last, month or so. Even in this country, people, going through terrible suffering. It's no joke. And of course, the war in Ukraine, and there's endless examples that are always going on. So people escape into sensual pleasures, thinking that will take their mind off of their problems. They might indulge in drugs, indulge in drinks, indulge in, sex, gambling, so many different types of sensual pleasures, thinking that somehow that is going to kind of make them more happy. But ultimately, even those things cannot bring a mind in that condition much happiness. In fact, they bring even more unhappiness when you're trying to seek happiness in things that are unstable and always changing. So the empty village represents the sixfold sense sphere. People are running to the eyes to get some pleasure through their eyes, their ears, their nose, their tongue, their skin, right? That produce all these ecstatic or erotic sensations because of the stimulation, but they're short-lived, and they come down off of that, and then, it becomes like an addiction. And that's why people get addicted to drugs, because the effect of the drugs only lasts for a short time, and they come down and they want more of that, because they've lost the ability to tap into the innate, inherent happiness that's deep within the mind, within the the present moment awareness. So anyway, then the person sees a ghost. The ghost represents no self, that there's no one that really controls this body and mind. It's all going on under the power of karma. And even though we think we have a self, ultimately, I'm talking about ultimately, it's an illusion. So when you understand that self is an illusion, when you get deep insights, that's like you're seeing a ghost. You thought there was a self, now you realize that ultimately there isn't a self. Or somebody who can, control your fate or the world's, that, that it's caused within your own mind. So anyway, the person then runs to find an escape from that, all these fears and dangers. They run to the bank, and then the 8 logs represent the Noble Eightfold Path. So he sees this river. The river represents the river of samsara, or the ocean of samsara. And they can't swim because, they try going around all different types of religions and trying different things, and, they're never satisfied. Nothing seems to work. And they don't know how to cross this ocean of delusion. That means the ocean of greed, hatred, and delusion. But then they see 8 logs and they get hope. So they might see a book on the Buddhist teaching at somebody's house on the coffee table. They go over for a birthday party or, cocktails one evening, and they see this book, Breaking Through the Self-Delusion, or what the Buddha taught, and say, oh, wow, what's that? So they pick it up and read it, and then maybe it pricks their interest. Oh, it gives them some hope. Oh, meditation. Okay, well, maybe I'll try that. So anyway, this seeing the Eightfold Path springs that the 5 spiritual faculties. So it starts the 5 spiritual faculties. That means the spiritual search. And so he pulls those 8 logs out. I'm not going to mention them because you all know the Eightfold Path already. And he ties them together with the faith and taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And then he starts paddling, and he encounters dangers in the water. I mean, first there was dangers on the shore, right? And now once he's got on the water and he's starting to go to the other side, he encounters dangers also. These sharks or piranhas that are trying to, nibble his fingers as he's trying to paddle the raft. Or the sharks are trying to bump the raft and tip it over. And so with great effort, with the right effort and mindfulness, he avoids that, and then he sees the whirlpool. And then again, with the right effort and mindfulness, he avoids going into the whirlpool. And then he avoids getting stuck on the sandbar. The whirlpool represents our dark emotions, like fear, worry, depression, despair, all these kind of heavy or dark emotions that people, get kind of pulled underneath, so to speak. And so to avoid those, of course, in the Dhamma teachings, we learn how we can try to avoid, falling into these dark emotions, and keeping the mind afloat. And then the sandbar represents the self, the conceit, pride and conceit, or the sense of self. Like even when people start practicing the Dhamma, they can think, oh, I'm a Buddhist now, or I'm this or that, and these other people, they're still, this way or that, they haven't changed. And you can kind of, develop a little bit of like spiritual pride, or, or just hung up on your own self-practice for oneself and so on. And that can also cause problems. So anyway, finally you're able to get beyond that. And that means like attaining By the time you reach the middle of the stream, maybe you've attained the Sotapanna already. And then as you get to the other side, you're weakening the factors as the fetters, the 10 fetters, as you're paddling across the river using the Eightfold Path. And finally, you get towards the other side, and the sunken branches and tree trunks just before reaching the other shore is the subtle fetters. And these are even attachment to meditation, or maybe you attain the jhanas and you're attached to the bliss or the lights or whatever other little powers and effects that you might get when you attain some of the jhanas or other effects of that of the practice, and especially as you attain the weakening the fetters of greed and aversion, attaining once returning, never returning. So the subtle fetters are what block even a never returner has to overcome the subtle fetters, which are the subtle attachment and subtle conceit, and subtle still remnants of ignorance. So finally, as he reaches the other shore, he attains the full enlightenment and reaches the safety. And so the Arahant then looks at the raft and says, well, I've reached the shore now. I don't have to carry this raft on my head. That means make the Dhamma a burden. We practice the Dhamma to reach enlightenment. Once you liberate the mind, then the mind is fully established in the practice, and you no longer have to really practice, actually, because it's already become on automatic pilot, and you've done everything that you were actually supposed to do. That's why when you read in the sutras, when people, the stage of the Arahant says, done what was to be done. There's nothing more to do in this body and mind. Achieved is the end of suffering. Anyway, so that's how we should use the Dhamma, not make it a burden and not use it in to try to get famous or to get rich or to be known as a great meditation master or giving great Dhamma talks and because we've seen a lot of monks, some of these things have gone to their head. And, they wound up getting into some problems with that. So anyway, so what should be done is using the Dhamma wisely to attain enlightenment, and attain the liberation, but without clinging to it and making it become a big burden for you. So friends, this basically is a review of that, the simile of the raft and the predicament and the escape. So the predicament is, the ordinary person who just wants to, enjoy life and go on trips in there, but people go on holidays, they get killed in plane crashes, get killed in automobile accidents, get caught up in a supermarket and killed, unlimited amounts of circumstances that are like these robbers, these 5 bandits that are always sort of chasing us around, wanting to cause us trouble. Whether it's illness or sickness or death, or it's natural disasters, or it's just any types of impermanence. And these things happen with the least notice. They don't inform us ahead of time, oh, this is going to happen. People might have 5 minutes for a hurricane warning or an earthquake warning or a tsunami warning, or they get a notice from the doctor saying some test they came out positive, and they have only 3 months to live or something, and so these things happen, and a lot of people lose it. and they causes them lots of distress. So anyway, the practice of Dhamma is to, be able to use this raft. So when these dangers arise, the mindfulness is looking out ahead. So the person with mindfulness sees the whirlpool in front. They don't wait until they're already getting sucked down a whirlpool. They see the telltale signs. Oh, there's a whirlpool up, 50 feet up there. Or there's a sandbar 50 or 100 feet over there. Let me start steering away from that now, rather than just waiting until it's already on you, but that's what a lot of people do. So anyway, so now having, reviewed that, I'd like to open it up and see if any of you have any questions based on that or any of those things that we talked about. No one sent in any email questions. And let's look at the chat box here. Okay. Okay. Well, this now this person has put this link to the raft sails upstream. So actually, that's kind of appropriate to this Dhamma talk, right? Talking about a raft, the simile of the raft, and the raft sails upstream. And that's also a simile of kind of Dhamma practice. Sailing upstream means, it takes a lot of effort to counteract the flow of ordinary samsara. And to go upstream, that means to try to slow down or to stop that downward current of samsara, takes a lot of effort. Now, this video is a talk that I gave. I think I've already mentioned that before, but you can listen to that also. If any of you armchair trekkers out there haven't always dreamed about going to Nepal but haven't been there yet, well, you can go on a trek with me there in the Himalayas from Pokhara up to Muktinath. And Muktinath is the place of liberation. It's a pilgrimage site high in the Himalayas, about 1 week's trek. Okay, so back to this next. One has thought that instead of carrying the raft on the head after crossing the river, they leave the raft on the shore, not needing to carry it, but out of compassion for another going the other way. That's true. Out of compassion, when people have gotten a benefit from the Dhamma, they naturally would try to share it with others if they have the inclination. Now, not everyone's going to have that inclination or have other kind of requisite conditions that would be able to, effectively or to share the Dhamma with others. But that doesn't mean you're carrying the Dhamma on your head. You're trying to get other people to use that raft to be able to make their own way with it. And, a teacher cannot carry any student on their head, to enlightenment. They can only point out the Dhamma and encourage people to look within themselves. So if anybody has any other chats or to write any other question you might have on that. Or if there's any yellow hands out there, any yellow hands.
Reference. Is this associated with any sutta, or is it just a commentary, or is it part of the simile of the Raft?
What was say that
Bhante,
again?
is it coming from Bhante, the simile of the Raft is a part of any sutta, or is it?
It is part of a sutta, but the sutta is actually not called the simile of the raft, the simile of the snake. And it's in the Majjhima Nikaya. I think our friend John Wilson can probably quickly put up in the sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. But I've kind of embellished that story to kind of make it a little bit more contemporary, or just to make it a little bit more, I don't know. Anyway, I've embellished it a lot, so it bears a little bit of semblance to the original sutta that you find within that other sutta, the simile of the raft. But I use different things to symbolize the four elements, for example. So the Buddha talked about the four elements being like poisonous snakes, four kinds of poisonous snakes. But, most Westerners don't encounter poisonous snakes all the time, but they do encounter earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, and fires at one time or another. So, I've just changed some of the things like that. But anyway, so it looks like John has put a sutta central, yeah, but they're just using a sutta. It's Majjhima Nikaya simile of the sutra on the snake. It's in Majjhima Nikaya, so you can also find it. Okay? So, but that's an easy,
I like your version.
that link that he just put up. Okay? Any other? Okay, here's another. It says, can you please talk more on the whirlpool of the dark emotions, depression, fear, and doubt? Yes, the whirlpool could be any of the heavy emotions, like guilt, worry, fear, depression. Of course, the depression, all the various forms of depression, other mental disorders, schizophrenia, psychotic breaks. There's so many. So but depression is probably the most common one, because so many people, are experiencing, even mild depressions, and then even more severe forms of depression. So that's why it's called a whirlpool, because some people think it's like they're drowning, right? They're getting sucked down a hole of despair. Life is no longer worth living anymore, and it could result even in taking people their lives, and we know that happens all too often. And like these people, these mass murderers, these they're really in a deep whirlpool. Their mind is they've gone down the rabbit hole to lead them to want to do some kind of things like that. So yeah. But it could be even just other things, fear, guilt, worry, remorse, fear, and so on, that just occupy your mind and don't allow you really to, could be doubts also, deep doubts and so on, doubts about yourself. Of course, that would trigger off other mental states too. Okay, so if there's no other questions, maybe we'll take a few minutes break, and come back and I'll look, maybe there's some questions, and maybe some people are busy writing some questions. The comment, the whole society is sick right now. Well, a lot of it is, yes, sick in one way or another, that's true. And that's why the Dhamma is there. But a lot of people, even though the Dhamma is there, they can't effectively practice it because some of these dark states are just too much for people to overcome, unfortunately. And that's a sad thing. And Dhamma is not, you shouldn't wait until the mind has got, sunk down a whirlpool. Dhamma is a preventive thing. It should be done when people are young to prevent these things happening when they're older. And so it's not necessarily going to cure everything, especially when it's gone that late, when people let it wait too long. But that's what the average person does. Wait till they retire, wait till their grandchildren graduate from college. So many other things, thinking that they can't meditate because they're too busy. And then they never stop being not busy. So unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's what happens. So,
Bhante, I have a question about this. Current pandemic resulted in a lot of young people becoming depressed. Data shows that about 35% of teenagers are depressed. How do we use the Dhamma and meditation to bring them out of these dark states?
well, sometimes it might require therapy, actually. And the meditation, again, is not necessarily going to cure everybody, especially if they've gone too deep. So sometimes even meditation teachers might advise people to seek therapy, or even in some cases take some of these kind of therapeutic medications until they at least come back to some sense of normalcy, or come back at least to a point where then they might be able to effectively start practicing the meditation, or with guided meditations and listening to them and so on. But a person who's been taking a lot of medicines and they hear the Dhamma, they think that the medication is going to be, or the meditation will just cure everything. It doesn't, because I've seen this happen actually in people that come to meditation centers and they stopped taking the drugs and they got worse, and the meditation didn't help them. And in some cases, they actually went home, and 6 months later, we heard they committed suicide. So meditation is not a cure-all. Don't wait till it gets that bad. That's why, start when you're young. Don't put it off. The Buddha always advised people, but, but anyway, I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it, but I'm saying limitations. But
thank you, Bhante.
There's certainly no harm in trying to get other people to do that. But maybe not the kind of deep meditation that we might be doing, but there's other forms. Feel the height and weight of the body over the feet. And begin some deep, slow breathing. 3 or 4 seconds. Slowly expand your abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs several seconds. And slowly breathe out. Feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. And coordinate these movements with the same breathing. Open the eyes and Observe as they're leading through it. On the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head. Interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms. Stretch your head back. Look up at the back of your hand and stretch upward. The out breath, turn the hands down, touch the top of the head. Again, in breath, palms up, straighten the arms. Stretch the head back, bend back a little bit. Out breath, touch the top of the head. Once more, in breath. Pull the upward stretch longer. Bend back a little more. Release the fingers. The out breath, the arms back to the side. Just close your eyes. You just feel your feet pressing the floor. Feel your hands and fingers. Feel the increased pulsation. Tingling vibrations of hands and fingers. And feel the clothing touching the skin on different places. Feel the head balanced on top of the eyes and the socket. And feel the outline of the standing body. Connection to the present moment. Remember standing. In the next in breath, lift up on the toes while raising the arms over the head in this way, facing the hands toward each other and stretch up. Out breath, come back down. Use the in breath to help lift up the body. Third time, pull the upward stretch longer. Up on the toes. Out. Close the eyes. Keep feeling the body. Remember standing. Out of your head into the body. Feel the subtle sensation. Letting go of your thought. Feel the itchy or prickly sensation. Clothing touching the skin. It's too warm or hot where you are. Next we'll do knee bending. On the in-breath, lift up on the toes and the arms up front for balance. On the out-breath, bend the knees and lower down into the squatting position if you can, balancing on the balls of the feet. Take a deep breath, feel the muscles in the legs pushing the body up. Up on the toes. Out breath. In. Out. In. Out breath. Feel the increased heartbeat. Another pulsation. Remember standing, standing, standing. Here and now, body, present moment, awareness. Next, we'll do the side bending, using both arms. On the in-breath, raise both arms up. Keep the fingers and arms straight, close to your head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side as far as you comfortably can. Feel the stretch on the side. In-breath, lift up. And the other side, out-breath. In-breath. Then to the right, out-breath. In. Out. Once more to each side. In. The out-breath, lower both arms. Close the eyes. Feel the sensation. Hand, other places. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Sensations on the surface of the skin, clothing touching. Sensations under the skin, pulsing of blood, little energy waves, painful sensation. Remember standing, standing, standing. Now spread the legs apart, wider the better. Pull the arms out to the side. We'll do twisting from right to left. Breathe in. The out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath back to the front. Let the feet turn with the body, then go to the other side. Out breath. In breath. To the right, out. Once more to the side. Over the arms. And all the sensation, pulsation, aches of pain. All the sensations you feel in the body are basically those four elemental vibrations. Feeling warm or hot, it's the fire element. Feel sweaty, it's water element. Clothing touching the skin, aches and pains, the earth element. Feel the body moving, swaying, it's the air element. Now bring the feet back together. And standing straight with the head turning from right to left. In breath, turn the left to the right. Look over the right shoulder. Out breath, 180 degrees back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In breath to the right. Breath left. In breath right. The head stopped in the middle. Feel the whole body standing. Now we're going to finish with one of the backward and forward bending. Just be careful when doing the back bends. You bend back too far the first time. Turn the palms outward. The palms are facing forward. On an in breath, raise the arms up. And gradually spread them out towards the sides. As you bend backwards, arms out to the horizontal position. Look up at the ceiling. Carefully lift up on the in breath. On the out breath, lower the arms and hands down towards the floor. Touch the floor if you can. Keep the legs straight. Let the little bones on the lower spine stretch out. Begin standing up. From the palms outward. In breath, arms up and out to the side. Bend back. Up, yes. Hands to the floor. In breath. Stand up, bring your hands to the chest. Out breath back to the sides. Feel the whole body. And feel or imagine the whole body vibrating, pulsating with awakened life force, allowing all the sensations to hold your attention in the present moment. Okay, so let's come back to our seats, ready for the meditation. The natural inward curve of the lower lumbar vertebrae, understanding that maintain that natural inward curve of the lower spine. It's important to keep the back and head in alignment. And gently close your eyes. Just rest your attention on the eyes. Sort of feel the eyes in the sockets. And the eyelids stretched over the eyeball. And from this point, behind the eyes. We're going to move the attention down through the body, feeling the different sensations. First of all, just feel some sensations on your face, sensations of the skin stretched over the front of the skull, any little prickling sensations on the face. And feel your lips touching together. And feel the shoulders, relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders. And feel the upper arms, the weight of the upper arm hanging from the shoulders. And feel the hands and fingers touching together, where they touch your legs. Feel the subtle pulsation, other sensations in your hands or fingers. And feel the buttocks pressing the seat. Try to feel the right buttock and the left one. Feel the whole pelvic area, lots of little sensation. All these sensations are actually just the four elemental vibrations. And feel the way your knees are bent, and the legs, feet under the body. Feel the clothing touching the outer skin and any sensations from under the skin. And coming down to feel the heels of the feet. First of all, to feel the heels of the feet. And gradually feeling the rest of the feet, the arches, the balls of the feet, and the toes. So many different little sensations there in the feet. And then gradually move the attention back up through the body a little bit more quickly, coming back up to the head. And again, just let the awareness rest on the eyes. Feel a subtle eye movement from that point on the eyes. Try to feel the outline of the body. So expand the awareness a bit to feel a general outline of the body. The head, shoulders, buttocks, feet, hands. It's like a mental silhouette. And just remember sitting. And you just reflect on this body. This body is comprised of billions of cells, molecules, atoms. All the atoms of the body joined together in different variations, producing the four elements. Basically, the four elements are just the particular vibrations of atoms, molecules, cells. Some feeling hard and soft, the earth vibration. Some feeling fluid or liquid, water vibration. There's heat in the body, the heat vibration. There's movement in the body or air, like the breathing, hiccuping, coughing, air moving through the body. If any of these elements get out of balance, that's when various types of pains, or illnesses, or diseases can develop, causing the person all kind of worry, fears, anxiety. It can come out of the blue. Anything can happen to anybody at any time and any place. These elements get disturbed, causing pain, problem. And that causes the mind also to get worried or having fear, anxiety, other mental problems. All these five aggregates, including this body aggregate, the various painful feelings that arise. So many pains can arise all over the body, aches and pain. And our perceptions and thoughts and always changing, constantly hearing, experiencing different objects, recognizing them, naming them, labeling them, triggering off desires, aversions, so many thoughts. You can't get the objects of the desire, the mind goes into depression, other dark states. A person experiences all these things from childhood, growing up through all the stages of teenager, young adult, middle age, old age, eventually to death. All these five aggregates are changing beyond our control, always trying to give us problems. And is there anybody that can really control it? And reflect back on your life and see all the different things that happened to you that kind of just happen without you making them happen, controlling them. Maybe even just reflect back in your life before you heard the Dhamma or started practicing Dhamma. The first time that you really heard or understood the Dhamma, you got that sort of inspiration, or faith or energy to want to practice in a more focused way. That would give you hope. You can do something about improving the quality of your life or mind, practicing the Eightfold Path, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, reflecting over the years how that has changed your life in different ways. To the better, hopefully. Now that we have to continue to practice the Dhamma, because Mara is always out there, delusions waiting for a chance to weaken our faith, or cause us to stop practicing. But even though you might be contemplating in this way, thinking in this way, still maintain that connection with the breathing body. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Maintaining that connection to the present moment. It's turning into how quickly all the sensation, the aggregate, the objects of hearing, thinking, feeling, constantly changing. You might just mindfully open your eyes a little bit and see that the Buddha image on the screen and that light there in front of his hand, glowing light. It's like the constant glow of the present moment, the awareness. It's always there, just beneath the surface of our wandering mind. It's underneath the surface of all those changing aggregates. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Sensations come and go. Pleasure and pain come and go. Sounds come and go. Thoughts, ideas come and go. Thoughts of I, me, or mine come and go. These are all just continuous waves of samsara, the ocean of samsara coming and going through the space of present moment awareness. If we lose that connection to the present moment with the breathing body, the mind can easily get dragged underneath the waves or sucked down a whirlpool of conflicted thought. This breathing body is that raft. It's the middle path between the inner world and the outer world. The present moment, that middle path, it's the raft. What kind of perceptions or thoughts arose in the mind based on that sound contact? Now let us spend the last few minutes of the meditation cultivating thoughts of metta, friendliness, best wishes toward our own body and mind and all other beings. Just keep feeling, observing your breathing body, sitting there. Just understand what your present conditions in your life, how you've got here, how you've changed, the direction your mind is going in. Just try to feel good about that, knowing that at least you're making some effort. You have some faith in the path. Take a few deep, slow breaths, and after breathing in, hold the air in the lungs. Try to feel the subtle oxygenation of the blood, being like metta or friendliness, going out to all the cells of the body. And on the out breath, feel that relaxation of the body and mind into the present moment. Doing a deep, slow breathing like that, holding the air in the lungs a few seconds, like sending metta to your own, all the cells of the body. Making the consciousness happy. And then just thinking along these lines, try to continue doing the deep, slow breathing. May I be well, peaceful, and wise, free from excessive attachment and greed, anger, hatred, fear, and ignorance. May I be free from the pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by unmindful, unskillful thought, speech, and action. May I have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May I use the Eightfold Path, cross the ocean, ignorant conditioning, the past conditioning, negative conditioning. May I be able to continue to maintain that contact with the Dhamma, gradually increase the practice of Dhamma more and more, means more consistent mindfulness, developing mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. And also then send these thought vibrations, metta, friendliness, best wishes to all of your family members or roommates, relatives, good friends, people that you see every day in various shops or neighbors. Wishing them also, may all of them be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from self-created pains and sufferings of body and mind due to their unskillful karmic thoughts and actions. May they also have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. With each out breath, you can feel your heart beating. With each heartbeat or out breath, imagine these same thought vibrations going outward across the towns and cities, the hills and the valleys, out across your county or state, across the whole country. It's like a slow moving fog enveloping all the towns and cities, like the heat off a wood stove. Just imagine these radiating these thoughts of friendliness, kindness, best wishing to all living beings, going out across the oceans, enveloping the whole earth and beyond. Just with the idea that may all living beings, wherever they might be, living near or far, visible or invisible, those who are born or yet to be born, rich or the poor, strong or the weak, may all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from the self-created pains and sufferings of body and mind due to their unskillful thought, speech, and action. And may all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings have the opportunity to hear the Dhamma, start practicing the Noble Eightfold Path, leading to the end of suffering. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. It's like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Dukkha pata ca nidukkha bhayapata ca nibbaya sokapata ca nisoka Hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way may all beings live. with mindfulness and wisdom. Thus spoke the Buddha. So I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do the chanting on a long out breath, feeling those vibrations in your body and mind. Take a deep breath. Sadhu. Now place your hands at the edge of the knees. Take one more deep breath, stretching your head back, arching the lower spine. Lifting the head up on an in-breath, and the out-breath, pressing the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebrae. And lift the chin up level on an in-breath. Relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends. So, I hope you had a peaceful meditation, or at least some bits of peaceful meditation, or some insights. It's really the developing the mindfulness from throughout the day, doing the M&Ms and trying to make mindfulness of the body. Your trusty companion. Use that as that connection to the present moment. That's the raft, or the middle path. Always being aware of basically that vibrations of the present moment. Okay, so remember, mindfulness a day keeps dukkha away. Namo Buddhaya. See you perhaps again next week. All right, so take care.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank
you,
Thank
Bhante.
you.
Have a good night.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good night. Have a good night. Thank you.